In the future world, a species of creatures emerging from underground has destroyed human civilization. Strangely, these monsters never set foot above 8,000 feet in altitude, as if there is an invisible barrier. Will and his son have survived for 3 years in the high-altitude Rocky Mountains, where people have gradually reverted to a primitive lifestyle. However, the scientist Nina has never given up on the chance to fight back. She has been tirelessly researching various bullets, but has found none that can penetrate the monster's skin. One day, their quiet life was shattered. Will's son, who suffers from a chronic illness, suddenly worsened, and the scarce medical supplies on the mountain were insufficient to sustain his life. Will had a bold idea and went to Nina's house, hoping she would accompany him to the hospital halfway down the mountain. Nina owed Will a favor from the past and had been studying the monster's habits since their emergence. Knowing them inside out, Will wasn't acting impulsively. He knew of an abandoned mine that led close to the hospital. Early the next morning, Will entrusted his child to an aunt. Katie, who had learned about the hospital trip and was worried, insisted on joining them, preferring to risk death over a life of mere survival. With no other choice, Will took her along. The three of them began their descent along the cliffside. Not far away were traces of past battles between the military and the monsters. Will was worried that the pits might be hiding monsters, but Nina reassured him that the monsters' bodies emitted a strong biomagnetic field, and she had brought a compass to detect them. Soon, they crossed the 8,000 feet line, entering monster territory. They arrived at a recently discovered battleground and started searching for useful supplies. Will found a grenade launcher and gave it to Katie, while Nina found a piece of monster skin on the ground. After gathering supplies, they resumed their journey to the hospital. In the 3 years since humans disappeared, the forest had been overrun by various animals. They reached the starting point of a cable car, which led to the halfway point up the mountain. If they could start the cable car, they could return to the safety of the high-altitude area. Suddenly, Nina noticed the compass needle spinning rapidly, indicating a monster was nearby. On the plains, humans couldn't outrun monsters, so they split up. Will quickly climbed to the cable car's control panel, while the other two tried to hold off the monster. The monster entered shooting range, but the terrifying red light suddenly vanished into the forest. As the monster charged towards them, Will frantically connected the power. Nina was the first to board the cable car, with Will close behind. The platform was too far away, so they had to climb the poles. They shot at the monster from the cable car, but the bullets couldn't stop its advance. Meanwhile, Katie took a leap, and thankfully, Will caught her. In the next moment, the monster hooked its claws onto the cable, breaking it. The three fell, but fortunately, 8,000 feet line was within sight. At night, they found a small cabin by the roadside. The events of the day left everyone shaken. Even Nina, the scientist, started to doubt herself. These monsters had suddenly emerged from underground, wiping out 90% of humanity in just 1 month. Even more terrifying, they never rested or needed to eat. Hunting humans seemed to be their sole purpose. After a night's rest, the trio arrived at the abandoned mine. Nina noted that although the mine's entrance was above 8,000 feet, the deeper parts would likely drop below that altitude. Monsters lived underground and could detect humans through changes in sound and carbon dioxide levels. Even the slightest breath could give them away in the mine. But there was no turning back. They ventured deep into the mine, and after some struggle, Will discovered that the passage leading to the hospital was blocked. A path could bypass this blocked passage, but they would descend to an altitude of 7,000 feet. The three of them mustered their courage and climbed down the pipes, quickening their pace through this dangerous area. Suddenly, Katie felt something following them. They covered their headlamps and hurriedly hid in a crevice in the mine. Will fired his bullets, but they had no effect on the monster. Nina told him to calm down. They turned off their headlamps and held their breath, and sure enough, the monster immediately lost its target. A red glowing hand reached into the crevice, searching for the humans. Seeing this, Will pulled out a cold firework, lit it, and threw it on the ground, releasing a large amount of cardboard food. They ate heartily, and Will suddenly asked Nina what she had been researching in the lab at the start of the apocalypse, and why the military valued her so much, even costing Will's wife her life while investigating Nina. Nina explained that they discovered the monster's skin, impervious to conventional weapons, could react chemically with ancient elements. Just as their research was about to yield results, the lab was attacked by monsters. The next morning, Will drove the truck towards a nearby town. Under the cover of horse hooves, they reached the hospital, which was in ruins. Will headed straight for the pharmacy, quickly searching for medicine. Meanwhile, Nina's compass was spinning wildly, indicating a monster nearby. They hurriedly collected the medicine and rushed out, but the monster was already there, with countless tentacles, reaching through the walls towards Will. They ran to the rooftop, but Will was caught by a tentacle. In a critical moment, Nina grabbed a fire axe and struck the tentacle. The metallic sound echoed, but the monster released Will. Soon, they were cornered. Will noticed an oxygen tank and had an idea. After using it, they saw the monster fall motionless to the ground, giving Nina hope that the monsters were not invincible. She asked Will to take her to the lab, believing she had found a way to kill the monsters, but lacked the equipment to test her theory. Will, determined to reclaim their home from the monsters, drove her to the lab. At the lab, Will kept watch while Nina mixed ancient elements with other substances, coating the bullets. However, the bullets had no effect on the monster's skin. Will urged her to leave, but Nina wanted to make one last attempt, asking Will to go ahead. Her car was nearby, and if the experiment failed, she would drive away. Will reluctantly agreed. Despite her adjustments, the bullets still failed. As the monsters approached, Nina glanced at a power cell and had a sudden realization. She remixed the elements and coated the bullets. Meanwhile, Will was driving home when the truck's tire burst, causing it to flip and come to a halt. After a while, Will regained consciousness, kicked open the windshield, but the noise attracted monsters. He ran up the mountain with the monsters in pursuit, reaching the 8,000 feet line just in time. However, the monsters surrounded him. With no escape, Will fought back, but the bullets were ineffective. In his despair, Nina arrived with the successful bullets. They were shocked to find the monsters' remains were scattered with mechanical parts. The monsters were robots, programmed not to exceed 8,000 feet, but who created them? With many questions, they returned to the village, raising a pirate flag as a signal for resistance. The signal spread like wildfire to all the survivor villages. With a way to fight the monsters, people began mass-producing the special bullets, ready to reclaim their homeland.